So we are going to be continuing from where we stopped at basic authentication. So we are going to be continuing there in this section authentication project. So I believe that by now you must have copied the API model, the API and these two directories, API and models, because these are the two main directory. Here I already prepared the files for testing, requirement.txt, etc. So I believe you must have copied this API and models directly from your basic authentication. So yeah, so again we have to make sure that all the tasks of basic auth are working correctly. If we did basic auth together, all the tasks should be working. And if one task or another is not functioning as it should be, look up the screen to the right side of the screen. You will see the playlist of basic auth popping up there. So we'll click on it and select the task and see that you fix it. So here in our before request decorator, we are going to have to modify it to find the value of auth the current user to request the current user, because since we are doing custom session authentication, so we are not going to be using the current user from Flask. We are going to have to assign the result from the auth.current user. That is from, where is it? Here. The result from here, we're going to be assigning it to request the current user. We know that this current user method in auth, the current user, we know that every class that inherits from current user is going to be overloading this method, just like basic auth overloaded the method and it is all the other method that we created to return the user. So when we assign this the value of this current user to request dot current user, it means we are assigning this user to request the current user. That way we can be able to use it in our Flask app. So right right after checking if the auth method dot current user returns none, so we are going to see that if the auth method current user, if it doesn't return none, that is if it has a value which should be the user in the dictionary format, then we are going to assign it to request the current user. So we say request dot current user is equal to auth the current user, meaning that this current user methods of auth is going to be returning a value which is going to be the user, and then that way our Flask app can be able to use this current user. So next thing is we are going to go to API/view/users, which is what I've pulled up here already, and we are going to update this user's route. So the check that we'll be adding here is that if the user ID is, let me do this so I can reduce this. If the user ID is none, or I'm going to put this in a brace, and we are going to say if the user ID is equal to me and request.current user is none. If it's none, then we are going to return about 404, and then we are going to put another check and say if the user ID is me and the request of current user is provided. So we are going to say if user ID me and first dot current user is provided, then we are going to return the request of current user after calling to JSON method on it, because we remember that here in this app.py, when we return this, when we assign the result of this current user to request.current user, is going to be a user object. So in this users.py, we are going to return this to the client, but we cannot return the object like that. We have to use to JSON method to be able to convert it to a dictionary before sending it. So we are going to say return first call JSONify and then say request dot current user, and then we call to JSON method on it. This way is converted to dictionary and then to JSON before being returned. So we are going to go ahead to test this. So I'm going to open main0.py, and we see that right here we are creating a user email, a password, first name, and then last name. Here we are creating an instance of the user without passing all these attributes, and here we are passing the attributes, and we are going to print out the user ID, and then here we are using the user email and password to generate a base 64 encoded string that is for authorization. So my app is already running here. I'm going to divide the terminal into two, and I'm going to run Python so we have our base 64 string here. I'll close my terminal, and then I'll open my Thunder client, and then this is, so I'm creating an authorization header, and this base 64 I'm going to replace it with the one I've created. Then I'm going to go for the users endpoint. Says forbidden. Let's try again. Okay, I'll go back here. Try to run this again. See the same thing. Okay, so now we see that we've gotten this, it's been returned. Now if, where is it, users, we are going to try to see if we, instead of slash users, we're going to try the endpoint users slash me, and we do send, we see that we still get this back. But assuming that, in our check we said if user ID is me and there is no request, we are going to return, and there is no request of current user, we're going to return about 404. So user ID is me. If I should take out this, and so for tax one, just like we created basic alt.py, and same way it inherited from alt, we are going to create session alt, and it's also going to inherit from alt. So inside there, I'll create session alt.py, and I'll just copy all of this from basic alt to section alt with this part too. And I'll change this to section alt. So this way we know that the section alt is now inheriting from alt, and we are going to go to app.py, and we are going to create this same logic, but this time with section alt. We are going to say if get with the environmental variable is session alt, then we are going to import section alt, and then make alt an instance of section alt. So we are going to test it out that we did the right thing by changing. I'm going to stop my app, and then instead of having the environmental variable as basic alt, I'm going to change it to section alt. Then we see that it's running, and then I'll open here, take out authorization, and then so we're getting okay. And if we go to the choosers, we are getting unauthorized, which is right. And if we go /user/me, also unauthorized. And then let's try to set the header. I'm going to do a new one and put it as test, and we are getting forbidden. So it means that this is working for us as session alt as the environment variable.